and of course the developers and those who are policymakers who made this what they call urban renewal policy, in which you are just destroying people's homes and not providing alternative. That's not urban renewal. It is urban robbery.
And I'm glad you mentioned the police because, well, it's been in the news. The fact that we woke up one day and we saw the Commissioner of Police in Lagos State declaring he wanted. And many wondered, he was here a few days ago. He's not on a flight out of the country or nothing. Was there an invitation of any kind? Why is it being declared wanted? And then we saw in the news as well this morning that you're deciding to follow the legal route. You are suing for this move by the Commissioner of Police. Walk us through that entire process and how we got here.
Well, it's part of what I tell you that, we as a people must decide how we are governed. And, we cannot just wake up every day and wring our hands and be afraid because we have incompetent, wicked, or people who are abstractly useless governing our space. And I mean it seriously, and that is how I see the reaction of the police commissioner in Lagos. If we were dealing with a decent system, the guy should have been fired by now for what he did. One, he made a declaration that there cannot be protest in Lagos. Nobody has a right to say that. Maybe a court might have a right to say you can't protest if they have genuine reason to say. So you can't tell people that they should suspend their constitutional or fundamental human rights to protest, not to exercise it. Secondly, he then went out to say, I cannot come to Lagos. I mean, you are restricting my freedom of movement because you are wearing an epaulet on your shoulder. And that is so reckless. And I challenge him. The reason I came to Lagos was because he said I can't come to Lagos. Because I like to go to places where people say I can't, especially when you're a government official who think you are power drunk. I want to show to the world that I can exercise my right even if you put a gun to my head. That's why I came to Lagos. I had no plan on coming to Lagos. We were having conversation with our colleagues and I was with them at the Take It Back movement. I was actually in prison at Kuje when I saw a news flash that the commissioner of Lagos said I can't come to Lagos. And I left prison, I went and ate a big bowl of eba and I started heading to Lagos. And I made it to Lagos. When he saw me, he was shocked. I think what in his own mind he thought would happen was that if he threatened me, being a crude person, I would just be afraid. Maybe he used to threaten people and I don't show up. But I know his trajectory. He used to work with Saraki and Kwara State as an enforcer. And then he was PPRO police. Disastrous outing as PPRO. They know these incompetent people because they have connections. They get all these very lucrative postings. Otherwise, Lagos with 20 million people need a policeman that knows at least what he's doing as commissioner. That's what I told him. I said, I was hoping that by the time I left the radios, the TV station where I was, he would have been fired. But I remember that even the guy who should fire him should have been fired since 2024. So that's the dilemma we have.
All right. Well, I know you're somebody who doesn't really buy into distractions. You like to focus on certain issues, and I think the most controversial issue facing Nigeria at this time is the U.S., President Trump, the designation of Nigeria as a country of particular concern, the threat of activating the Department of War. We will put boots on the ground if you do not get control of the situation, the Christian genocide as well. Let's have a conversation about this. The argument is we are a sovereign nation. China has spoken. You don't have a right to threaten an entire country. What you can do is offer military support. You don't threaten to put boots on the ground. Let me get your perspective, first of all, on the notion of Christian genocide, first of all, and then the position of the U.S. as well as the response from China and the presidency.
See, the problem I have with the designation of Nigeria as a country that is persecuting or killing Christians is that it is too limited. I would have supported that position, not the U.S. Because that's what we've been saying.
Right.
If they had said, look, we have genocide across boards, we have killer machines, and the state, the problem itself, they refuse to do their job. So in that case, you're Muslim, you are Christian in this country, they carry out genocide against you. The government does carry out genocide. Government once killed 3,000 Shiites in one night and buried them overnight with El-Rufai and Buhari. That's genocide. There was genocide at Lekki Tollgate. So I'm saying, look, this is something that is widespread, and when you're covering it, you cannot isolate one group. I understand the feeling that people who are in Christian-dominated areas in Benue, in Plateau feel like, whatever help we can get, we don't care at this point. We're also worried about people in Zamfara, in Katsina, and in Borno, and Yobe, who are also under threat from these killer machines who have infiltrated the country. Some of them, as El-Rufai admitted, were brought into the country and they were compensated maybe for political reasons or maybe for dominance. There are also narratives about the fact that there is some kind of ethnic cleansing and land grabbing that is going on with certain superior groups. But I'm saying, if we are dealing with them, let's deal with all of them at once.
Right.
So you cannot carve out an area and say you are protecting Christians. What happened to the weak Muslims, the vulnerable Muslims, children, men, women as well, who are getting kidnapped, getting killed by these murderous groups? I am in support of taking care of Boko Haram with whatever it takes, bandage or whatever it takes. But now we go to US. Yes. US has a knack for intervening in country for different political or diplomatic or even economic interests. I am somebody who was around during the pro-democracy group, so I've been through this before. When we were expecting that US will come and bomb Lagos and install Abiola, it never happened. They were not even interested. In fact, while we were expecting them to take action, they were having conversation with Abacha to remove his uniform and become the civilian president. That is where some of us who have sense of history understand that US is not going to save you. My position is that as Nigerians, stop looking in the sky for savior. Save yourself, because let's assume that US even arrives here tomorrow, they drop a few bombs, they put a few boots on the ground. When they are gone, what are you going to do? We were here when Boko Haram went and abducted largely Christians from Chibok. The US celebrities, even PDD, all of them, as they bring back our girls. The girls are still with Boko Haram, some of them, and they have all moved on. And the US has demonstrated historically, wherever I intervene like this, the place goes worse. They intervene in Syria, the president in charge is the leader of ISIS. They intervene in Afghanistan, the president in charge is the Taliban. They told us they were going to drive away. They intervene in Yemen, the situation is bad. But then you look at their hypocrisy. They're there while Israel is killing both Christians and Muslims in Gaza. And does that not disturb you that such persons, especially a person of the character of Donald Trump, who has a long history of racism, who doesn't care about, he doesn't even care about the blacks in his own country. You think he's going to come and save you? And people are excited about that because we don't understand history. So many of our people just look at this superficially, like, oh, US is coming. Some people even think it's skate making. So we are not considered. I'm not here to defend sovereignty of Nigeria. Nigeria has no sovereignty. A group of Boy Scouts can come out and run this country. We don't have anything. There's no leadership. That is why the US even made the US is making Nigerian leaders run around shitting in their underwear with tweets. They have not even flown a drone near us yet. That shows to you that when you saw the Senate president yesterday, Mio, cannot talk to. But when you see countries that have sovereignty is not government, it's not border. It is the dignity of your people that is the sovereignty of your country. When you treat your people like not trash, you can't have sovereignty, because if Nigeria were to be Saudi Arabia that we started with, America cannot just send a tweet to Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is also a country of concern for religious intolerance. China is a country of concern. Russia is a country. But the US will not send a tweet that they are going to China to go and save somebody. Because China is a sovereign nation in practice, in truth. And they also have nuclear weapons. I'm not saying that we should get nuclear weapons, because if Nigeria gets nuclear weapons, they'll probably bomb Nigerians with it. So, but we must look at it from the point of the fact that they are not coming to help you. They do what they do. They've been here before. They've done this before, trying to save people. It is Nigeria that we're talking about today that saves Sierra Leone and Liberia, not the US.
Wow.
So if you rely on outsiders, and I want to say this, and it's controversial. Nigerians are always looking for help. We're just perpetually begging for it. There are still Nigerians who are praying for Jesus Christ to come back so that we can get electricity and drinkable water and good schools. But Jesus is not coming back to provide the electricity. So because it's been ingrained in our system that help is going to come from without, not within. But I am saying, let your help come from within. Deal with your own criminals internally, and your country will become a country you don't have to be worried about somebody sending a text message to your president before you get things done. Because I asked yesterday on a TV show, what if America don't show up?
What if America doesn't show up? Indeed. This is still the Situation Room in 98.3 FM. My name is Sage Babalola. I do have Sowore, convener Revolution Now movement, and we're talking beyond election. We're thinking justice, we're thinking leadership, and we're thinking accountability in Nigeria. And I'm glad we're talking about Nigeria's sovereignty and who we really are in the grand scheme of things. A few weeks ago, we heard rumors, still being tagged a rumor, of a coup plot which saw about 60 military personnel being arrested. The presidency insists that nothing of the sort is happening. 2 days ago, we saw for the first time a politically exposed person was named in this supposed rumor, Timothy Silva, the NDDC, 45 billion linked to the account that was supposedly supposed to be used to fund this particular coup. Let's talk about why we're seeing instances like this. First of all, the presidency's response. Many are saying, why the continued denial? Anytime you do not give proper information, you give room for rumors and suppositions. Why do you think it's difficult for the presidency to outrightly address this coup issue? Why the persistent denial? And what lesson does this teach us about the state of leadership in the country at the moment?
You know my attitude, anything the presidency denies, I take it to the gospel of truth. Okay. And I know that there was a coup plot. The story was broken by Sowore, which I found, even though I wasn't involved in finding that out. And initially, Sowore reporters was the one who was targeted and ridiculed for revealing the truth. And then now everybody's admitting that it happened. Yeah, so repetitiously saying that they've arrested more officers and there's even a panel to try them. My position is that we want a transparent trial because, you can't put anything beyond these Nigerian officials. They can manufacture a coup plot to distract you, but what is available in the public?
But they changed service chiefs. You don't think that speaks to the reality of things?
You can change service chiefs all you want. If you want to change service chiefs, why don't you change the IGP of police? It's also a service chief, and that's the most powerful security unit in the country. Right. So, I hate superficiality. And and part of our biggest problem is that it's the opaque way in which we do things. Government is never honest with the populace. So, and that is why sometimes you find it difficult for Nigerians to defend their governments. It happens even in soccer. The moment that soccer players are not playing well, Nigerians will just start supporting the opponent because they have lost faith in what they think should be the order of things or the way things should be done properly. And it stems from the fact that there is no legitimacy of the people who govern. They don't have legitimacy. The process that produced them. That's part of it. So you can't blame Nigeria altogether. But you can at least educate Nigerians to say, look, don't be excited about this and all that. That's my job, apart from also stepping out and fighting and ensuring that nobody right or showed on our people as much as I can. But we have a duty to also keep telling the populace to stand up for themselves.
Let's talk about justice, and I would use the PDP as the poster boys for the conversation on justice.
What is PDP saying? Does our party still exist?
That's why I need us to talk about them because a lot of things have indeed happened with the PDP. We've seen the mass defection, first of all. For example, in the Southeast, I don't believe there's any PDP states in the Southeast at the moment. It's complete defection. The APC seems to be absorbing these governors. In fact, some governors are being convinced, you better join because you'll be the only one at the end of the day. Look at the PDP, the recent controversy. The Federal High Court says you cannot have your convention. A state high court in Oyo State says go ahead. And then we have the spokesperson of Nyesom Wike saying that the judgment of the Federal High Court trumps and supersedes any other interim order that you might get from a state high court. And so using this illustration, I could go on and on and on about all the things that are wrong with PDP. But let's talk about the viability of opposition in Nigeria. We've seen mass defections, even at the Senate. We're not hearing a lot of opposition voices as well. It's almost like everybody just gets on board. It's a aye captain kind of system. What is going on with opposition, and what does this tell us about what to expect in 2027?
Let me tell you.
Yes.
It is the governors and officials that are defecting. The people are not defecting. This is very important. And this government will soon find out that Nigerian people are not defecting to the APC. The transactional politicians are defecting. That's number one. Secondly, is that, you see, I don't want to speak for the PDP or any opposition party that I know is part of the old order. I am of a new order. That's why we established a party known as the African Action Congress. And you can join now. It's not too late. You know, the vote is still anchored, and we can all rescue this country together. If PDP exists, it doesn't matter. Because if they win power, they'll be doing what APC is doing now. And most of the people in APC were former PDP people. And, you know, when APC couldn't accommodate some of them, they went and formed ADC. I was one of the first persons to warn Nigerians that all these big political parties, I should call them mainstream, these are just transactional machines for special purposes, to rig elections or to gain power and loot the treasury. So the conversation should not be about what the courts are doing. The courts are doing what the courts are meant to do on behalf of the APC. Otherwise, it has been established up to the Supreme Court that courts have no right to interfere in internal affairs of parties. This, you know, there's no court should tell the party where and how to conduct this
Convention.
Convention. There shouldn't be, and when you start having this confusion, it is because they are particularly, funded to create confusion and distraction. So you have a wiki, for instance, who belongs to the APC and PDP practically, and his job is to ensure that the PDP doesn't rise and to ensure that the person arrange or discuss judgments, and he doesn't hide it. So, but you come back to us, Nigerians, because I know most of you are listening, and maybe now you listen more to the words of wisdom that we occasionally come here to tell you, that you have to go past these people. You can't keep seeking salvation from places where there's no salvation for you, where there's no hope for progress, development, or prosperity. I think a lot of people have been conditioned to just help them perpetuate the feeling that they are part of the system that they are not part of. One of the things we found out when we were to submit party membership in 2022 to INEC, that the big political parties don't have register, they don't have members. They only go out to recruit people during the election. So when we now cried out about it, you know what they did? They connived with INEC officials to use INEC register to help them create membership register for their parties. That's what they did. So I'm telling you, because when we establish a party, we go to these meetings with them, we fight over there. And when we go to meetings, the PDP people the leadership don't oppose each other. I've never seen as meetings of political parties where the PDP is opposed to APC. It's always Sowore has come, because I take on all of them and take them to the cleaners. They are at peace with themselves. Because Nigeria is the only country in the world where you can go to sleep as PDP and you wake up as APC and you're still a human being. In other countries, if you go to bed as a political party A and you wake up as B, they will designate you as a hermaphrodite. Politically speaking, I'm just joking.
Yeah.
But that's Nigeria for you. So we must also start to discuss ideology now. This is the time for it. And there's no better time than now. And warning Nigerians, forget about all these distractions you're seeing. I was the first person to warn Nigerians about the ADC. That ADC is just another hustle. And it's turned out to be now. So you rarely hear about ADC anymore.
But the ADC is claiming that they're not allowed to function. 2 times they've tried to hold rallies, and there was an infiltration by thugs. So they're saying they're not being allowed.
Because it's their friends now. You understand? Tinubu has planted people in ADC that gives daily reports, hourly reports. But don't forget, as I told you, Nigerians are not defecting. And they're just looking for that aha moment.
But can we separate the people from the parties? Because at the end of the day, it's the political party that will be on that ballot, not the Nigerian people per se.
Yes, parties are very close for conducting elections.
Right.
They are not your parents. You're not under any obligation to belong to a political party to vote. You can vote without identifying as a political party, but parties are the vehicles for candidates to emerge. And if the parties don't align with your dreams, aspirations, and your convictions, you don't have to be part of the political party. But you can join a political party at any time if you know the political party will take you to the promised land. And that's what we promised in AAC party. And we're telling Nigerians, let all of us go there and rescue this country, take this country back from these people. It's very easy. If Trump can do it with a tweet, we can do it with our voters' card.
Well, let's talk about the courts now, because I don't want us to, join issues. We're talking about the political party. There is a relationship, but the courts themselves, there's been many allegations of political interference. I mean, one of the PDP chieftains, for some reason, his name eludes me now, says that anytime matters of PDP goes through a particular judge, is always in favor of a particular. There's no need for it favors him all the time, and that happens. And he's alleging political interference in the court. We're seeing contradictory judgments. There's arguments about jurisdiction. In 2025, after 26 years of democracy, we're still confused. Some judgments you cannot even interpret, and you see lawyers arguing. But what is going on with our justice delivery system in Nigeria?
No, our judiciary is gone. Let us accept that. And there's a joke in Abuja that President Tinubu is the executive branch, Akpabio is the legislative branch, and Wike is the judiciary of Nigeria. It's not a joke. People, when Wike used to be governor of Rivers State, anybody who wanted a judge that can do their bidding used to go to him. He's a mecca of the judiciary. And that's what he's doing. They have relocated him to Abuja. There's nothing he can't get done for you, I guess, for the right price. That's the truth. And that's what we keep telling Nigerians, that you just have to fight this battle once and for all. Because you're not going to get out of this by praying. You can't pray your way out of this. It's not possible.
Electoral reform, let's talk about it. They're doing a lot of constitutional amendment, they're tinkering, and I think one that really stood out was, for example, the burden of proof after an election. That the burden of proof should not be on the aggrieved candidate, it should be on INEC. INEC should be the one to prove that they conducted a free and fair election. For example, you are displeased with the outcome, or you are alleging valuable snatching and stuffing, and now you're asked to go bring documents to prove it. You have to approach INEC. Some have even alleged that INEC would actually to pay a huge amount of money to access this
document.
document. Well,
somebody asked on an FOI, and INEC asked them to bring $1 billion. So
why?
that is also a problem of access to getting it.
So what do you think about that?
They're doing it on purpose.
What do you think about that, though? The burden of proof on INEC instead of the.
So if you want INEC to provide you the burden of proof, INEC to provide a proof that you didn't win the election. They know how to do that. Listen, INEC has already been staffed to the hills before they even appointed. The chairman of INEC is the last person they appointed who will do their bidding. I'm saying it to you. Before the chairman was appointed, if Tinubu has appointed all the regs, Red Resident Electoral Commissioners, appointed National Commissioner, made up of card-carrying members of APC. We go to meetings with them, they don't even hide it. And then the final person is the Professor Mopita, who you can imagine he wouldn't have appointed if you didn't know him. So because Nigerians always live in this la-la land where we believe that somehow somebody can appoint an INEC chairman without having an agreement that he will do his bidding. Beyond that, you go to the judiciary, because these are the two groups that will have to liaise to work on the proof you are talking about. The president appointed 11 Supreme Court justices since he came to power in 2023. He needs only 7 judges to win an electoral appeal. What do you think they would do when you have Wike around, you have all these people who know? You know the joke in Nigeria that you hire 2 sets of lawyers, one who knows the law and one that knows the judge. You can fire the one who knows the law, you still win your case, you have the one who knows the judge.
Let's talk about the state of the economy, because that is an issue, and sometimes we get so overwhelmed by politics that we forget about the leadership part of this conversation. And I think the state of the economy is something that is worrisome. Some have said that all of the development is on paper. I believe inflation is now 18.02%, all the way from 32%. Some say, okay, it sounds good, but the things are still very expensive. They say unemployment rates went from about 40% to 5%. They used an ILO standard. We rebased.
It went down to 5%?
Yes, it's now.
Unemployment?
Yes, it's now 5%, sir.
Who released that? The person to be arrested.
It's now 5%. That's the
Unemployment?
Yes, it's now 5%.
How did they count it?
They used an ILO. The methodology was explained. It was supposed to be ILO standard. So if you earn money per hour, you're not considered unemployed. That's the methodology.
Like all these TikTokers.
Yeah, so you're not unemployed, so you should not be on the list of unemployed Nigerians. But
I've never heard that before.
oh yes, we see that 140 million people still live below the poverty line, but inflation figures are showing 18.02%. There is a disconnect. How do we reconcile this supposed development that the government is claiming?
But you know that
with the reality?
These numbers are just thrown out of the hats. It's not as if they put any rigors into producing. Look, the best way to check if people are doing well in the country is to look at the percentage of the citizens their bank accounts. Do you know how many people in Nigeria have more up to 500,000 in their bank accounts? Only 7% of Nigerians can post to 500,000 in their bank accounts. 7% of 200 million. So that's where to judge these things from. It's not just starting place. You are poor. You are poor. You cannot address poverty with press conferences or statistics. You know, I think there was a British judge, Israeli, who said that statistics is lies, more lies, and the biggest lie. That's the way he said it. You can use statistical figures or statistical theories to actually rig the outcome of what you want to see. Everybody who's done that knows that happens. But just go around and look at the people of Nigeria. Look at your streets. Look at your schools. Look at your hospitals. Look at the meal you're eating. Look at the electricity you're getting, and look at what you're wearing. Look at your exchange rate. Then you will know that we're in a country that Trump wants to describe as a shitty hole. Yes.
Well, he recently said it's a disgraced country. That was his latest adjective when he put out that.
He just upgraded it.
Well, let's talk about how they've spoken about the things that they've done right. For example, the student loan and all the many promises, the roads, the Lagos Calabar Coastal Highway, and the promise of infrastructure. I mean, we do have the WTO governor, who came to Nigeria and said that, well, the economy is stable and is on the pathway to growth. And so some might say that maybe we're a bit maybe uptight when it comes to analyzing the situation, that we're ignoring the good parts.
So let me tell you about the Konja.
Okay.
And some people once sat down, and I don't know what they heard. They said that the Nigerian economy was bigger than that of South Africa. They rebased the economy. They were just scamming the Nigerian people.
But rebasing is routine, right?
Yeah, but it's Nigeria was at 4,000 megawatts, so it's gigawatts or whatever they call it.
Seems like from
It's
38
megawatts.
or thereabouts.
Yeah,
13,000.
South Africa was at 62,000. So how can you say that an economy that is using bulb is bigger than an economy that is using nuclear reactors? You know that's a lie. You go to South Africa, see, the other thing is, if you are to migrate, where would you go? South Africa or Nigeria? Most likely South Africa, right? That tells you that it was a lie. So I just want to use that to rest Konja Iweala. That's their job. They are lackeys of the West and the IMF and the World Bank. And once in a while, when they want to tell their lies, they put them out there to deceive you. Sadly, some people believe her. I don't believe her. So the Nigerian economy is not rebounding. And you know why? And when we got here in 2022, pre-2023, the Naira was at 400 Naira to a dollar. It's still standing at 1,500 Naira to a dollar today. So when your economy is doing well, your currency
You're
will
telling the
appreciate.
exchange rate.
Yes, it's part of it. So because monetary policies that determine that you're doing well and the size of your GDP and all of those things. What is the volume of export revenue? What's the volume of trade with any country? When you look at it, they're negligible. And then an economy that is doing well is not likely that an economy where people are borrowing, you will be pillaged. Even salaries you borrow to pay. So those are things you want to understand about how to just cut their lives into pieces. And that's what I'm here to help the public do. Because that's why sometimes we ask for these debates. But they will never do people like us because we just demolish their lives in a matter of seconds.
I know we don't have you for much longer, but let's talk about the refineries. Yes, that is another conversation. And that was a very expected reaction, but let's talk about it. At the moment, the only functional refinery is the Dangote refinery, who himself is not having a field day at the moment. I think the 15% tariff on importation also caused a controversy. Many say
it was done for him.
That's the thing, that it would, because you're the only functional refinery. The remaining 4 are not working, and these people will not stop importing, which means that the cost will be transferred
to Nigeria. This is why sometimes you should listen to us. It was in this country, and there's something about Nigeria. Nigeria should be named the country of anomaly. There's something wrong with a country that went and commissioned a refinery that's not working. And then now that the refinery has started working, they are secretly telling you that it is still the job of the Nigerian state to keep the refinery going. That is why the 15%. You are being taxed on behalf of Dangote. Well, let me shock you again. The Dangote refinery, Dangote is now going to be importing. Are you getting my point? So, because his capacity, Nigeria is consuming about 15 million liters per day. If I was to be in government, it would probably be 30 million, because they bring it in and going to sell to all these African countries around us through small. That's a 15 million. Dangote is able to produce maybe 18 million. All the refineries that they spend billions on is producing maybe about 4 million, 5 million liters. Invested over $1.7 to $2 billion through the NNPC to Dangote. When are we going to get our return on investment? Why are you taxing us again to keep his refinery working? Why is suddenly Dangote now going to be importing the petrol that he told you he's able to produce? Was it not in this country the media and influencers were saying that they saw Dangote petrol going to the US?
Yes, he says it's upscaling. He wants to do more. So
why is he importing? And already he's going to start turnaround maintenance for maybe another 2 months. While he's doing that, it's going to be important. So we'll be relying on importation, and these guys are going to be casting away your life. For how long are you going to allow them to deceive you? This is the truth as of today.
Is it time for concession? Those 4 refineries. I know outright sale of national properties have been
the one that we didn't consent. We didn't look on this one. They told us in this country that if we allow private refineries to exist, we will solve the fuel problem. We have now had somebody who was helped to build what he calls the biggest refinery in the world. He wants to be importing.
So that's why I'm asking the question. Our 4 refineries that are not functioning.
Our 4 refineries can work. They can work, but
do we concession?
No. If we sell it, we are still going to be the one who will provide the letter of credit. We are the ones who will pay for the crude. They will be doing crude swap there. These people that are buying Nigerian properties don't have money to buy. It's Nigeria that helps the friends of people in government to buy what belongs to Nigeria, give away prices, and then they still support them. Go and ask the biggest scam that happened in this country forever. It is AMCON. What does AMCON do? Most Nigerians don't know. No. You, a big man, who go and borrow 500 billion naira in a bank, you can't pay it back. AMCON comes to you and says, we are going to buy your debt. It's a bad debt. They say, okay, what do you have? You give them wristwatch, they overprice it. You give them a card, they overprice it. They say, you have paid your own part of it. They help you, they bail you out of your irresponsibility. And that's what they want to do by concessioning the refineries. Why can't Nigeria run its own refineries when Nigeria can help another person build his own refinery? Irresponsibility of people in power. They are always after what you have, and when they convert it to their own, Nigeria still has to pay them, help them guarantee the loans to maintain what they claim will make Nigeria better in the private sector. There's no private sector in Nigeria. It is the public sector cornered by private individuals and is still being serviced as by the public. We just saw that with this 15% tax. I didn't make that up. That's what they did. They're not even hiding it. They said it, I think officially yesterday, they said it that, well, we are doing this to protect Dangote refinery. You protect Dangote refinery by demolishing villages of people, paid Lagos state government. Dangote himself said he paid Lagos state government officials $100 million to buy the place. Nobody know where the money is, but they've displaced all the owners.
But they're saying that it is to encourage local
production. When Dangote was building his refinery, the dollar rates was giving him at a differential that was different from what other people were doing. Nigeria stopped everything it was doing so that Dangote could build his refinery. Dangote has built his refinery now. Nigeria is putting hands into your pocket, is robbing you to keep the refinery alive. But Nigeria has 4 refineries that it could repair. He refuses. He's helping another person build it. The person built it is making a loss. Nigeria is still forcing you to keep him in business. That's a crime against humanity. I'll tell you that.
We still have Moile Sowore in the studio. Lastly, let's talk about the strike. Doctors are on strike. Doctors, particularly ASU is.
I don't know how many strikes are on in Nigeria.
I know, it's hard to keep up with. Yeah. I know the ASU, they're trying to resolve it, but the resident doctors are the ones who are saying 48 billion is what you owe to us. The federal government says it's 41. That's one argument. And then they have given 11 billion. The doctor says, well, thank you for your generosity, but we're not going to resume until you give us the 48 billion. Let's talk about that. The health sector, the positioning of the federal government. How would you prefer this matter to be handled? Because Nigerians are the ones that are suffering for the strike.
What we have found out now, recently,
right,
is that Nigeria has enough to go around to take care of itself, but greed will not allow us to make progress. So we're always constantly go and ask what governors are getting every month and what they are doing with it. The moment they get that money, they go to BDCs, convert them to dollars, and then they move them out of the country. You know, if I was going to allow Trump to do anything for Nigeria, is to help us sell all their houses, all their accounts, and return the money back here. That one I can support him for, but not to come and bomb Nigeria or help Nigeria defeat Boko Haram when in fact you don't know their intention. But the things that they stole from us that is in their country, let them do you know, a whole head count of it, houses, you know, jets, even school fees that are stolen from here to pay their children's school fees. Send it back to us, we should be fine. But here's what I was going to say, which should be my last wish because I know we ran out of time. You were mentioning the roads they call Lagos Calabar.
Yeah.
I came here 2 years ago. I said that road is meant to start at the you know, the Bundugu they are building there inside the Black Moon, inside the Atlantic Ocean, the Atlantic, and it's meant to end at Dangote. That road is designed to be 47 kilometers. They have commissioned 30 kilometers of it. Over maybe a little bit over 15 kilometers is more travelable. They are not planning any Lagos Calabar. Of course, because of outcry, you see them, you know, bulldozing places. Because that wasn't the plan. The plan is to connect the Atlantic with Dangote refineries. And they're also planning an airport in Ekpe. They want to abandon this one because...
You've added Edo to the list of states where that will go through.
They will go through.
Yes.
Have you been there? Have you passed through?
That's the information.
It's 2 years.
Provided.
They're journalists. You know,
that's the information
get
provided.
on a bike and try and
Edo State is going to go through Edo State as well.
Everybody says it's going to pass through their village, including me too. But we haven't seen the road.
Do you think religious leaders are complicit in the rots that we see in the system generally? That they kind of influence.
Do you have another hour to talk about religion? Because that's my area. Like, it's not about religious leaders. Religion is part and parcel.
The concept, not the practitioners.
No, the practitioner. Everything about religion is part and parcel of how to control countries, not to make progress. I'm telling you this. You can ask Jesus Christ to not forgive me, but Jesus himself knew this before he left and never came back. The truth is that religion is the opium of the masses. Look, if prayers work, Nigeria should be the most beautiful country in the world. if prayers work. If prayers work, aircraft will be running to prayers that are rising to heaven tonight, because everybody's a prayer mantis in the world, and the world of this Nigeria. So the people who operate religion, organized religion, they understand that. They know how to keep you guys just safe. Hope is actually the product of religion. They sell fake hope to you. Somehow, somebody who doesn't have a bicycle, they will say that you get a limousine. You know, and there was a church I was listening to one day, and they said everybody in the church will get Lamborghini that year. Look at the crowd, about 5,000. They make about maybe 150 Lamborghinis every year.
Exactly, they don't make that much.
So, Rolls Royce. Yeah, they're talking about Rolls Royce. And they are all saying, hey man. I was like, can't you just check how many Rolls Royces they make every year? They don't sell to Nigeria. Maybe 2 we make it here to Nigeria. But that's the nature of religion. So I just want to answer that, yes. But the religious leaders, they know too. That's why they love you. They love you being in a state of thoughtlessness. And that's how religion works. They make you not think, basically.
Right, I think we can take contributions. Yes, the phone lines are open 0913600410. That's number to dial. We're streaming on Facebook at Mainland 98.3 FM. WhatsApp is 0913600430. We're speaking with Omoyele Sowore, convener